We're exploring the sights of Scandinavia.
We're here in Stockholm and ready to go and explore more.
So our day began with the Princess cruise ship arriving into the Stockholm cruise port. And as the ship approached, we were greeted with the stunning views of the city. We saw historical buildings alongside modern architecture. And we started our day just exploring the city on foot for a few hours. We had an excursion planned the first day, but that wasn't going to start until late morning or early afternoon. So we just left the ship and started walking, didn't know what we were gonna see, but we did find the streets were very pedestrian friendly, and there's lots to see just walking around. So we started the day on our own, as I mentioned, and we were off to see what we could see. So it was early in the morning, the city was still waking up, and we took some time to enjoy the peacefulness of a local city park. And there's many, many beautiful green spaces in the city that offer a peaceful respite from the bustling city streets. And soon we made our way to a place called Drottninggatan, and apologies up front if we mess up some of the pronunciations. But this area is the main shopping and walking street. And if you enjoy shopping, a trip to this area may be worth the visit itself to Stockholm. It goes on for 1.5 kilometers, though it seemed even longer than that to us because it just went on for block after block after block after block, and shops and shops and shops and shops. It's a vibrant area, lots of stores to peruse, many cafes where you can eat. We browsed through several shops, we enjoyed the lively atmosphere. And nearby this famous shopping street, we passed by many notable buildings and impressive monuments. We found the city to be clean and offering a wonderful preservation of its history.
I'm in Sweden. Wow.
So, Julie, let's get to know Stockholm.
Yes, and I remember getting off of the ship with another passenger that was getting off at the same time, and she said that it was unusual to have a 2-day stop in Stockholm. So I thought we were kind of lucky that we had 2 days.
I'm glad we had 2 days because there was so much to see. We filled up the 2 days, and we could have kept going if we had even a week.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Or more.
Yep. Stockholm is the capital of Sweden. It's a beautiful city that attracts millions of tourists every year. Often referred to as the Venice of the North, Stockholm was built on 14 islands connected by over 50 bridges. This unique layout gives the city a stunning waterfront and a charming blend of old and new architecture. You'll see water everywhere as you make your way around the city.
And it's a city that attracts tourists for lots of reasons, including its rich history and culture. The city's fascinating history dates back to the 13th century when Birger Jarl founded it as a fortress. And over the centuries, the city witnessed numerous historic events and has been ruled by various kingdoms. And as a result, as tourists, today, we can enjoy countless of well-preserved historical sites and landmarks. And if you're a museum fan, Stockholm is definitely a city to consider visiting because you're going to find at least 50 museums in the city.
You'll see wonderful architecture as you walk around the city with a blend of medieval, Renaissance, and modern styles. It's a visually stunning city with cobblestone streets, colorful buildings, and really, really beautiful parks. We walked through one that impressed me very much. Additionally, the city has a diverse culture with influences from the Nordic, the Germanic, and the Slavic roots. Stockholm is a popular stop for cruise ships, with the port located conveniently close to many of the city's top attractions. If you're on a tight schedule, knowing that so many gems of the city are easily accessible from the port will help you plan a fantastic itinerary. The city offers an extremely efficient public transportation system, making it easy for tourists to navigate and explore the city. Whether it's by subway, bus, ferry, or just walk around as we did, getting around Stockholm is both convenient and enjoyable. In fact, We found Stockholm to be extremely walkable.
We put in lots of steps in Stockholm.
Yes, we did. I find Europe mostly as it's very walkable cities. The port area itself offers beautiful, stunning views of the city and is a great place to start your trip with plenty of restaurants, shops, and cafes nearby.
After starting out on foot for a few hours, it was time to head back to the cruise ship to catch a bus for our first booked excursion on the cruise adventure, and this would be to tour the Royal Palace of Stockholm.
So off we go to the Royal Palace. And there was a bus that you boarded to get to the Royal Palace. The Royal Palace is located in the heart of Stockholm's Old Town. It is one of the city's most iconic features visibly that you can see and just its long history. And I love stuff like that. It's so fun. It is such a grand landmark and it's one of the largest palaces in Europe. It is the Swedish royal family's official residence, and it's a popular tourist attraction also. With over 600 rooms, the Royal Palace stands as one of Europe's largest palaces, still in use for its original purpose. As a tourist, you have the unique opportunity to visit parts of the palace, such as the state apartments, royal chapel, and treasury, offering a fascinating glimpse into Sweden's royal history. We explored the palace with our tour group and just marveled at all the intricate design and the historical artifacts inside. And it was a bit stifling and warm, a little bit humid inside. It felt very still and uncomfortable. So you had so many people that were packed in this palace area on top of the stifling environment that was around you from just humidity and heat. So it did get a little bit heavy. The air felt heavy. There wasn't, as I said, there wasn't any airflow. It was crowded. And it made it a little bit more difficult to really appreciate the palace's beauty. We realized we still prefer visiting places like this on our own rather than in a large tour group.
I felt rushed.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah. So we often do things like this on our own because we like to take our time. We like to see what we want to see. When you're with a tour group, they're on a schedule.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves going from this room to that room and then, okay, come on, follow the lady with the flag that she's holding up.
Kind of walking past some things because it was just too crowded and she was on a time constraint.
Some people enjoy tour groups and they don't like the DIY experience, but if you do like to do things on your own, the Royal Palace is fairly close to the cruise port area and you could easily get there with public transportation or maybe even walking on your own. Before we got to Stockholm, I didn't know how close it was going to be to where the ship was. Part of that, though, is because Princess Cruises didn't identify exactly where our ship was going to be, so I wasn't able to, in advance, figure out could we do that part on our own, so we did book the tour. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was fine. And it was okay, too. But I think we just have a preference for how we like to take our time, stroll through places, read things, take it all in. That's kind of what we like the most. They did have a little bit of a changing of the guards, so that was kind of fun to watch. Mm-hmm. So the tour itself, I believe, I forget how long it was. It seemed rushed, so I forget how long it was.
It wasn't any more than 2 hours in the Royal Palace itself, maybe like an hour and a half.
Hour and a half, maybe.
It felt fast.
So if you're doing it on your own, I'd give yourself a little bit more time than that.
Yep.
All right,
We just finished our tour
our first excursion from the cruise ship.
of the Royal Palace and the old square in the area. Palace was amazing. It was really pretty. The tour took us pretty quickly through all the rooms, so
It's kind of highlights and move along type of thing.
So which was fine. It was very stifling in the palace because there's no airflow. So
yeah, it's interesting because outside today it's kind of rainy weather, 60 degrees, and inside that palace, warm, humid.
yeah,
We started to have to take layers off because it was getting
really warm.
stifly, like you said.
Stifly.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but all in all, it was okay.
Yeah, it was neat to see.
Yeah.
There was, I think partly because there's quite a number of cruise ships in town today.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people
Yeah.
in the museum,
Yeah.
so it was difficult to like see things, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. Even if you were all individually on your own tour, you were kind of weaving in and out of people anyways.
yeah. But we're done with that,
Yeah.
and we've got an afternoon and an evening in Stockholm, so more to explore.
Yep.
Here we go.
With our tour completed and our visit of the palace done, we were now set free from the tour group, and we were back to exploring Stockholm on our own, the way we like it. Next, visiting several more notable places near the Royal Palace.
One of the things that our guide did was walk us into the Old Town a little bit and pointed out some of the features in Old Town. And I really like that too, because I wouldn't have known really. Old Town has small alleyways and some twists and turns that can get you kind of feel like you're a little bit
Disoriented?
Yeah. So that was kind of nice to have her do that. I enjoyed that. But on our own, our next stop was a place called Gamla, and it's also known as Old Town. It is the heart and soul of Stockholm. It is one of Europe's best preserved medieval city centers, and you have to stop here if you're visiting Stockholm for sure. The charming cobblestone streets, they have these beautiful, colorful buildings, and just the architecture itself. They've preserved the old architecture so well. And I think that for me, that was one of my favorite parts of Stockholm, and I'm sure it is for many other tourists also. We were walking through these narrow alleyways. We found hidden courtyards, and you have this sense that you've literally stepped back in time. It has this old world charm, and it's really hard to resist just wandering through and taking it all in. It is also in this part that you'll find the Royal Palace, as we had mentioned before. There's the Nobel Museum, and there's several other museums and galleries in this area. And you can also experience Stortorget, which is the oldest square in Stockholm, and it's surrounded by colorful buildings and traditional Swedish restaurants. And we'd walk down the narrow cobblestone pathways in the city center area, and we found ourselves in Mårten's Gränd, the smallest alleyway in Stockholm. This alleyway only measures 35 inches across, and it connects two main roads with a very skinny staircase.
It's one of those unique places that's kind of fun to walk through because it is so dinky.
Yes, and we had heard about it, so it's something that I think is a bit popular in the area.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, it began to rain very heavily.
Cats and dogs.
Pouring down. But that didn't stop us. We kept walking.
They said there was going to be rain in the forecast today, and we were just a few minutes ago talking about how we lucked out, no rain, and all of a sudden
the sky opened up.
Sky opened up, and we are under an alcove, waiting for it to get a little bit lighter.
A little bit lighter.
Yeah.
So as we were walking around, now it was mid-afternoon, and we were starting to get hungry. We also wanted to get shelter from the rain, and there are many cafes in the city center. During our time there, we saw many of them were crowded, and as the skies were turning gray and rain was splashing down, we spotted a cafe that would provide us with some cover during the impending rainstorm.
So we sat down at a restaurant here in the old square, and it's pouring rain. And she came out with 2 blankets and says, "You want a blanket? It might be wet." I said, "Yes, please." So I'm sitting on a blanket, which is so nice. Very nice.
And if you get cold, you can wreck yourself.
That's right. That's right.
I got a little confused that these bowls came out and they look like soup, and I was thinking I didn't order any soup, and it's actually a big vessel of tea.
Yeah.
Served a little different
nice.
here. So we have our tea steeping
In loose leaf tea.
loose leaf for honey.
Yeah.
In a nice, and it's actually a little chilly out here, so this vessel looks like it'd be nice to put your hand around.
Oh, yes.
There it is.
Oh, yes. That work?
Very nice.
And you got your blanket on
I
now.
have my blanket on.
Yeah. It's actually bigger than it looks in the video. Yeah, that's the size of my hand. And it's good.
For our lunch, we enjoyed a delicious salmon and spinach pie. Quite delightful, and it's not something that we see on our menus back home in Southern California. One of the things we like to do when we travel is if we see something unique that we can't purchase, we can't eat back home, that's typically what we buy.
Why not?
All right, bon appetit.
After enjoying our lunch, we had energy for more walking around and exploration.
The rain had let up, so we were
Well,
off we go.
Momentarily.
Yes.
It then came back later.
But but we found the opportunity and off we went. And of course, most places that I go, I seem to run into Pandora shops, which is one of the things I love to collect charms. So I had to go in and get myself a Swedish charm.
Yeah, you got 2 bracelets that are jam-packed.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
I think I'm working on a third one.
Probably pretty soon, huh?
So we have this one.
Yes.
And it says Sweden on the back.
Okay.
And then we have the Viking here.
That's the winner.
That's the one.
Lion? Like a
Lion.
Super nice.
Lions everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think it's a good choice.
If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. And to see our future travel adventures, hit the subscribe option.
We'll be back soon with more adventures from the places where we go.